I never would have tried, you know. So I don't think that, you know, it's just different times. And if you go back to the 70s, it's different times in the 90s. And those guys really had, you know, Piper was stabbed and shot at, and Jake was stabbed. You know, guys, that's a different era.
Gentlemen, The Undertaker has some controversial comments to Ryan Satin about today's generation. So he says this. He says, a lot of the younger talent is the evolution of that comic book era, the superhero era. And I think that's their motivation and what their inspiration is. He also says, he follows on to say, they didn't have to come up and bust heads at bars and figure out how they're going to eat, things like that. So, Joey Janela, hey, yo, Joey. Joey Janela, he comes back and he says, I 100% agree, Mark. Calls him Mark. They're on Mark and Joey terms now. Lots of lame Marvel geek talk in these locker rooms. If I ever open up a wrestling school before you have your first match, you're going to have to get in at least 2 bar fights with proof. By the way, the Avengers movie sucked. Paige, what do you think about Taker's comments and then the present generation representative of a pro wrestling, which is Joey Janela, making that type of comment?
Because you guys sent that to me, I read that. Because you guys sent that to me, I read that, because I would never even read that. But I read it. And at some point, they were really busting Joey's chops. And Joey's like, what are you talking about? I agree with him. Like, that's what he said. I'm just telling you what he said going through. So, you know, to me, you know, this generation is not the guys who, you know, like got faced on the road like we did. You know, like there was a lot of drinking every night, and I had to like get out in different cars because I drove with Michael Graham and Barry Windham, and those guys they made me look like I didn't know how to have a cocktail. I mean, as far as drinking beer, it's like, oh my God, like, I love you guys, but I gotta go. But what I was told is I was, you know, watching so many of the guys that they were into video games, not into abusing their bodies. It's maybe that's why they can take so many crazy bumps. You know, that they can take more of a less polluted system. I don't know. I think that what Take was really, you know, to me, what I was hearing is our stuff was based in our time in reality. I'm not talking about the 80s. I'm talking about the 90s. The Attitude Era and the NWO and everything that we did was based in reality. It's still a work. It's the same but it was based in reality, and some stuff is and some stuff's not. I was talking to Robert Gibson, and they were down, and this is at an independent show, and the place was popping huge, and he's like, who is in this match? And he walked upstairs, and you know what it was? 2 guys in video games playing each other. Oh, like huge pops. And he just shook his head and he said, I said, yeah, but you know, when you hear this is awesome, you know, sometimes it could be this match is just out of control, but it's like the bumps that these kids take today. Some of them are like, it's like a video game, you know, and other ones are reality based. And you'll see the old timers, as they start getting older, they start telling more stories. And today, if you hear this is awesome to me, sometimes, you know, it could just mean this is just mind blowing. When I hear them chanting someone's name, I know they're into the character.
Yeah.
Not to say both of those matches can be amazing, because some of the stuff that I've seen Bryan Danielson do, and you know, and guys
Sammy
like
Guevara.
Sorry, I mean, all these guys, it's like they make me look like I wasn't even an athlete. You know, they could do so many more things. My stuff was more reality based as far as the character, what I said, you touch my wife, you know, just storylines. But we were just more reality based, where when the NWO came in, and we talked about this last week, it blurred the lines. You know, it blurred the lines. And I think both of them are good. I don't have a problem with either one, ours or theirs, because it's constantly changing the business. And when you saw Sammy do the leap from the ropes to the ladder to hitting Cody with the cutter, there was so much room for error. But he didn't make an error. And they hit a beautiful move that I never would have tried. You know, so I don't think that, you know, it's just different times. And if you go back to the 70s, it's different times in the 90s. And those guys really had, you know, Piper was stabbed and shot at, and Jake was stabbed. You know, guys, that's a different era. They're all different eras. As far as I'm concerned, you know what? They're all good to me, you know, because I appreciate the athleticism that these guys have today. And I get, you know, Take, you know, Take's the old school guy of the, you know, going in the Hall of Fame, man. Nobody freaking, as far as I'm concerned, like, I didn't have my best matches with him, but I don't think anybody did it better than Taker. You know, especially he's got to go down as one of the greatest big men of all time. You know, him and Kevin Nash, you know, the greatest big men of all time, man. So, you know, I take it with a grain of salt, you know, and Joey's comeback, Joey was like, I agree with him. What are you talking about? So, you know, I don't know. You know, to me, it's all wrestling, bro. You know, that's what I think.
Yeah, Vince, and your way. So, say for instance, if a fan of today's generation said something like but that was, you know, that was the 90s. That was a generation before us. We appreciate the art form. We don't have a problem with all the super kicks and, you know, the jumping to the leaping ladder cutter spot. It's just the art form that we love to see people do. What would your response be to something like that?
Bro, I gotta tell you, listen, Paige knows how much I love it. But I totally disagree with Paige. And I'll tell you why. Bro. We're going to sit here and talk. We're going to sit here. We're going to talk about Scott Hall. We're going to talk about DDP. We're going to talk about Kevin Nash. We're going to talk about Roddy Piper. We're going to talk about Macho Man. We're going to talk about Hulk Hogan. I can go on and on and on and on and on. These guys built a popularity that wrestling had never seen before, bro. Go look at the numbers. When they used to say WrestleMania, what the world is watching, bro, the world was watching. The popularity that these guys, Eric Bischoff, rose this business to. And this younger generation, bro, they lost the popularity. We went from the world to a niche market. And if you look at numbers, and we're going to talk facts.
No,
here,
I get all that, but it's a different platform. It's a different platform too, you know? And again, I agree with what we did as far as the numbers. They'll never have those numbers, but the platforms are totally different. I just respect the athleticism and like the stuff that I said, Daniel Bryan's, I just want to make sure I get him right name. Bryan Danielson, it's so mixed up with his name, knowing what his real name was. You know, I think that if you watch that cat today, I don't care who he's, whether it's Kenny Omega, you know, or friggin' Hangman Page, you know. I mean, those guys put on a hell of a show, man. They put on a hell of a show. Did they take a lot of bumps? Hell yeah. But they put on a hell of a show, man.
Here's the ironic thing, though, Chris, which, you know, you're the psychologist of the group, Okay, so this is the thing that blows me away. The 1,000% positive thing about today's business is outside of the ring, it's a much healthier business. Like Paige said, there isn't the alcohol, there isn't the pills, there aren't the drugs. And bro, thank God for that. That's a good thing. But the ironic thing is, these kids aren't doing any of that, but they're killing themselves in the ring. So what's the payoff, bro? These guys were doing that, drinking pills, but bro, in the ring, they were working with each other. They were working safe. They had long careers. It's the complete opposite today, where the lifestyle outside of the ring is much healthier, but you're killing yourself in the ring. So it's really the same balance, bro.
Yeah, good discussion, good heated discussion. I'm sure that can continue to extend further than that. It's both ends make sense. If I'm the third party here, the neutral party to side one way or the other, I got to go with Vince on this one, as far as just when it comes to the overall perception of wrestling. Now, I agree with you, Paige, that the talent is just amazing. I think from a talent perspective, just amazing that people are showing the art. Like, it's an art form. It's like painting a picture on the canvas when you see Sammy Guevara do things like that. But at the same time, it's just from a psychological standpoint, it's similar to, like, there's a phenomenon. It's actually dealing with sexual nature, but you can actually apply it here too. It's called the Coolidge effect, and it's about reaching a type of stimulation, and if it's the same thing, it tends to plateau earlier. So you want different. And so when you have more riveting storylines and when you have different angles and things like that, that type of differentiation, it actually helps with not plateauing from a psychological perspective. If we keep seeing the same thing over and over and over, that's why we converted into more of a pop-based business. Boom, 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 pop, 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 pop. So I think it's a really interesting discussion there. Let's go rolling down memory lane, fellas. Go ahead.
I think in the big picture, I think everybody overreacted to what Taker said. He's just
I agree.
Guy.
Yes.
He's just an old school guy.
That's right.
Comment. That's all he is.
That's right.
One of the greatest of all time, and he can say whatever the hell he wants.
That's easy, Undertaker.
That's the way I look at it.
Period.